Welcome back, Nerd Squad. I'm so excited for today's Versus, where we will be pitting the established, mostly villain, sometimes anti-hero Harley Quinn against her newest opposite, Joker's new partner in crime, Punchline. Who will win? We are going to find out, hypothetical style. But before we get into the fight, let's take a look at the stats for these villains and learn a little bit more about them, shall we? Harley Quinn has been around since the 1990s, a tried and true villain who was originally introduced in the Batman animated series as the Joker's girlfriend and sidekick, becoming so popular that she was introduced into the comic book world as well. Harley has gone on to break away from her abusive relationship with the Joker, emancipating herself and setting out to do her own thing, solo styles. Though she is occasionally joined by her friend and sometimes girlfriend, Poison Ivy, and her gang of Harleys on her adventures. She has even more recently been seen teaming up with the Birds of Prey both on the big screen and in the comic book world. When it comes to her fighting prowess, Harley Quinn comes with her impressive acrobatic know-how, some roller derby experience, and usually her giant hammer. She also used to be a practicing psychologist, which can come in handy when it comes to having a better understanding and finding the weaknesses in her opponents. Punchline was first introduced earlier this year in 2020, and as such is quite new on the scene. She made her comic book debut in Batman issue 89. More recently, we've gotten a more in-depth look at Punchline and just what she is about in the Joker 80th Anniversary Special, where we got a glimpse into her origins and her philosophy as a villain, what makes her tick. It seems like she was a science major of some kind at Snyder College, well, we know she was studying chemistry, who turned on her dean, killing him with her own batch of Joker venom in order to prove herself to the Joker himself. She seems to prefer to fight with knives and is possibly an established killer, despite being quite young. Her criminal mind and CV was impressive enough for her to convince Joker to let her be his second in command, a pretty big honor in the villain community for someone so young. She is anti-establishment and anti-trend, believing that most of what people say and do these days is all coming from a fake sentiment. To Punchline, most people make noise not for the cause that they claim they are rallying for, but to feel important. We don't know a ton about Punchline yet, which makes her a wild card in this fight and potentially even more dangerous. Now that we've expanded a little bit more on just what each character brings to the fight, it's time to take a look at where or how this fight could be taking place. At the end of issue 92 of Batman, we got a pretty reasonable premise for these two coming to blows, but I'd like to put them in a more thematic environment. So we're going to have these two square off at a rundown amusement park. Harley was forced to go there to put a stop to Joker once and for all, who in our imagined story wants her dead, which really isn't too far off, as in issue 1 of Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey from DC's Black Label, it seems like the Joker is eager to put a target on Harley's back when he hears that she's returning to Gotham. Rather than run and hide, Harley has come to confront the Joker and anything he can throw at her. She arrives at the seemingly abandoned amusement park only to be greeted by none other than Punchline. The rules for this fight is that the two women can't leave the amusement park, it's a fight till one is firmly knocked out or dead, and no allies allowed. Sorry Ivy, let the fight begin. Punchline is the one who attacks first. She has been waiting for Harley to arrive and lurking in the shadows. She peers out from behind a tent and tosses a knife Harley's way, but Harley has her guard up and manages to block the knife with her hammer. She peers out from behind it, seeing the blade handle sticking out from the end of her mallet's face. She does not seem pleased that someone is attacking her from the shadows, pulls out the blade and tosses it away, and urges her attacker to come out where she can see them or risk playing a very dangerous game of hide and seek with her. Punchline does not come out and instead continues to move in the shadows from behind the tents, as Harley initiates seeking her out by smashing hiding places with her hammer. Punchline's hand last. Punchline smiles as Harley swings her hammer, and she just barely manages to dodge, ducking low. Harley herself also smiles and lets out a little laugh as she swings her hammer back around and manages to smash Punchline in the shoulder. Punchline grunts, the smile wiped clean off her face by Harley's successful blow, and drops a little grenade, which explodes with green smoke. Harley knows that it might not just be smoke and drops her hammer momentarily so she can quickly backflip out to cleaner air. But now now, Harley has lost Punchline again. Oh no! Punchline stalks around in the shadows once more, wielding knives and two raised arms, a determined and focused look in her eyes. One arm struggles to raise very high though, her shoulder throbbing as she tries to stay calm and quiet her breathing. Meanwhile, Harley has moved back into the light and is listening for Punchline, ready to pounce. When Harley's back is facing Punchline as she peers further into the dark, that's when Punchline attacks. She is quick and as quiet as possible, though she can't help but grunt softly when she tries to lift her one kinda busted arm. She glides up behind Harley, ready to stab her right in the back. Harley, however, is not going down that easy. She hears that grunt, she spins around, and somehow is wielding a gun now. Where did she get that gun from? She points it at Punchline and shoots before Punchline can get to her. Punchline loses her cool demeanor for a moment before glitter floats down all around her. That's right, it's a glitter gun. A few pieces of glitter stick to her cheek, highlighting her unimpressed expression. Harley stops to laugh. "You should have seen your face!" Punchline continues her assault, slicing at Harley, who still manages to dodge her. Eventually their blows take them over to the Ferris Wheel. Harley kicks Punchline in the stomach and begins to climb upward, sticking her tongue out at Punchline as she does so, and urging the Joker to come out and fight for himself for once. Punchline reels from the kick to the stomach and reaches out to stabilize herself, realizing that the lever that she's leaning on is actually the Ferris Wheel's control. She pulls this lever and smirks as she watches the Ferris Wheel start to light up and spin, circus music accompanying its flickering lights. Harley wasn't quite ready for this and almost falls while being halfway up the Ferris Wheel's path as it jolts to life, but she manages to hold on and begin to pull herself up. Punchline watches and pushes the lever further, causing the Ferris Wheel to speed up. Harley struggles but continues in her attempt to get into a more stable position for the ride. She manages to pull herself up, lean over the side of a swaying cart, and swing a leg up so that she can propel herself into the seat, smiling triumphantly as she manages to tumble in the cart. She's done it, she's in that cart, she's safe. She turns to share her victory with Punchline but is met with another knife right in her face. It manages to scratch her cheek as she leans out of its path. Harley looks back at Punchline, who is still somewhat bent over, as Punchline calls out how she appreciated the target practice. "You certainly need it, you just can't seem to hit your mark," Harley calls back. Punchline says nothing but stands up a little straighter. Harley's cheek begins to burn and her smile disappears. She reaches for the side of her face but finds that she can't move her arm. She collapses. She can't move at all. Her eyes are stuck wide open. The Ferris Wheel comes to a stop when Harley's cart reaches the bottom. She's completely paralyzed at this point. Punchline smiles down at her. "I would say playtime's over, Harley, but it's really just beginning." As Harley lays incapacitated, this victory goes to Punchline with her possible chemistry skills. Granted, she did have help originally making that Joker venom in the comics, so I'm not really sure how brilliant Punchline is in the science department, but I think it would be really cool if she was a stealthy assassin who also had some serum or poison making skills, just some other intelligence to back her up. So I figured I'd add that something in there for her to play with, as it's kind of hinted at in the comics. Who do you think would win in a fight between these two? Do you disagree with our ruling? Are you a fan of the new character Punchline? Do you prefer Harley Quinn in a villain role or more as an anti-hero? Do you ship Ivy with Kite Man or with Harley? Let us know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments from one of our latest videos, Top 10 Black Widow Love Interests. Justin Shim comments, "A Steve, Bucky, Natasha triangle could be interesting." That sounds like one sexy triangle, Justin. I really like that. Schizo Calypso writes, "I kinda wanted a list of Amanda's celebrity crushes. I feel oddly betrayed. Because people say I'm our resident Black Widow lookalike? I'm actually not big on celebrity crushes, to be honest, but I will say if I had to pick, Idris Elba would be high up on my list." And that's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below for a chance to have your thoughts and feels shouted out in a future list. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you to stay nerdy, YouTube.